My next guest tonight is a New York Times and Amazon best-selling author who has been a fitness instructor for decades. And despite her mental and physical fitness being in tip-top shape, she suddenly fell ill due to toxic mold in her home that also happened to be featured on MTV's Cribs. She has since produced a documentary and written her latest book called Killer House, and I want to bring her on the show to talk about it more now. Shemaine Nugent, you are one of a kind, my dear. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
Okay, when I read your story, I had a visceral reaction because when my husband and I got married and moved into our townhouse, we had black mold in our kitchen, and they had to rip out the entire wall. It's not the kind of thing that you can just spray and get rid of. And your story is 100 times more horrific than what we experienced. Can you please articulate the whole saga for my audience?
Well, I was a fitness instructor. I was once named Detroit's most physical female, and I started getting debilitating migraines. And I should have been the walking poster child for health and fitness, but I was sick and barely could walk up a flight of stairs. I went to dozens of different doctors and nobody could give me any real reason, and they just kept giving me more and more medication. So I took it upon myself to become my own investigative sleuth and discovered that our home that was featured on MTV Cribs had toxic mold growing between the walls. We never saw anything. We just kept getting sicker and sicker. So I'm on a mission now from God to share this message with others, because I'll bet you everybody who's watching this now has had an experience with toxic mold, or they know someone who has. And there are ways to go about remediating it, and there are ways that will make it worse. And I want to share that with you.
How did you even find out? Did you take a sledgehammer to the walls? How did you even find out that it was in there?
No, this was about 20 years ago, so nobody was talking about toxic mold back then. I had a friend who was an attorney and represented an entire community whose all of these his litigants had toxic mold in their homes, and they were suing the builder, and they all had similar symptoms. So he said, just go get tested. So Ted and I both went to a toxicologist, and we both had 4 different types of mold in our bloodstream. I was also diagnosed with having pre-emphysema, and I don't drink and I didn't smoke. So it's interesting how things work out, but I feel I'm on a mission now to help other people. And I never wanted to be known as the mold lady, but here I am.
You are so much more than that. I wanted to ask you, though, because as I hear your story, there is a parallel track that I feel like applies to this, because when we were all in the throes of COVID and we were being told by our government to stay indoors and to wear masks and to socially distance and all of these things that you would think would run counter to an actual healthy lifestyle. I mean, a lot of us thought during COVID, this should have been the time for the government to adopt a new health initiative, get outside, exercise, eat right, things like that. And with your story, you went to all of these doctors, and no offense to these doctors, but it seems like there wasn't any ability to think outside the box. Like you said, they just kept medicating you. Do you think that that's something that is more prevalent in the medical profession than we really even realize, and it takes something like this to bring it out?
150%. How many people just reach to the medicine cabinet to cure a headache, cure a sore throat, cure a bloody nose, cure their kids' asthma, go to the doctor for whatever it is. And COVID locked everybody in. And in a lot of times it made it worse. And I will tell you too, Amanda, I have other stories from other people in my book, people who had emotional situations due to toxic mold, rage and anger, because if you don't feel good, it's going to make you angry. And you go to all these different doctors, and you know, there are a lot of good doctors out there, but there are a lot of them that regurgitate what they've learned in medical school. How much medical school training focuses on toxic mold? Maybe 15 minutes out of the whole thing. So that's why I wanted to share my story with other people. If just one person could benefit from this, then it's all worthwhile. I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but I really want to share this with people. And I do have to clarify. I said I don't drink. I do drink. I love wine. I'm making my own wine. But I don't smoke is what I don't do. And I do think life is meant to be worth living and enjoying. And yeah, I eat healthy and I live healthy and I love to work out. But, toxic mold is a deadly killer. And one of the stories in my book from someone else, she lost her baby and found out there was toxic mold in her baby's bloodstream, and her baby passed away at 8 months old before it was born.
Oh, that's horrific. I mean, this is something that I think it's so important that you have brought light to all of this. And I know that you talk about this and so many other things on your show, Faith and Freedom. So I'm going to check that out, and we're going to have you back on again very soon. I know this was the first time, but it's definitely not going to be the last. Thank you so much for being here, Shemaine.
God bless.